Okay, awesome. I'm very excited today to have Adam from Route.com, our newest partner in the SmartSites Partner Program. Route.com has a very interesting concept where it plugs into an e-commerce store and lets the consumer, the person who just purchased the product, track their package and also insures it. So it's something that was only available to big retailers, and Route.com really I don't can't pronounce that word.
Democratized.
Thank you. Yeah, that whole process, and really, just gives a lot more power to consumer. And again, I only see it as two ways, two things it does. It's one, it's a really awesome user like interface to track your package, and number two, it also insures it. Insures the order, and it starts at like 99 cents. So it's something that you give that power to your consumer, and the ones who take it, it just gives benefits to the merchant. So I will stop there just for that top level intro, and I will let Adam take it from there.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for that intro. Yeah, we'll dive into a little bit of more of the details around why we feel that this is a really important space to be in. I think for the most part, as I get my screen pulled up here, if we look at the history of e-commerce, conversion has been the ultimate metric forever, right? Did we sell anything? But what we've realized over the last several years is that just because somebody bought something doesn't mean they're going to come back. And so much of that experience is dependent on what happens after they finish their purchase, but before they receive it. And that shipping and delivery window is so important. We're not the first ones to figure this out. I mean, you've all heard of businesses like Narvar, who for years have serviced major companies like Nike, because they knew this research and they realized the experience is much better if you're not just sending your user to FedEx's tracking page or UPS's tracking page. You should control that real estate. You should have a Nike branded page with a beautiful map that reflects those otherwise ugly updates if you were just to go to the carrier site. So you can have a branded experience. You can drive people back. You can promote additional content or additional products that they could come back and add. You can create ways to share that. So that's existed, but it's really been super expensive and only available for very large established merchants. On the other side of things, Amazon started to commoditize that so that you could buy any cheap thing on Amazon, but you got that experience, right? Amazon created an awesome experience in their app where they notify you every step of the way. I mean, sheesh, I noticed around the holidays when they started telling me your order is 10 stops away or 8 stops away, and I could almost like time wrapping something up, in the house and then meeting them at the door. But again, that was only available if you decided to sell on Amazon. And so those who wanted the control of having their own store, who wanted the ability to create their own customer experiences, either didn't have enough money to invest with somebody like Narvar, or didn't have a model that supported just going and selling on Amazon. And that's why Route exists, is we wanted to create that experience for everybody, even if you just opened your Shopify store, your WooCommerce store yesterday. And so you'll see kind of 4 stages of our product here. We've got the, if I can learn how to use my presentation arrows, we've got the protect and resolve, which revolves around our insurance. And then the tracking and engage are 2 steps that happen within the app. And we'll just kind of take the next few minutes to go through each of those. So I would love to keep this an open discussion. I don't think this group is so large that we need to avoid just throwing out questions. So if you have questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat, unmute yourself and ask the question. I'm happy to just kind of work through this as a discussion instead of asking everyone to hold your questions for the end. So let's start with protect. Kind of going back to the Amazon reference, ultimately the reason that Amazon has invested to create this is to improve that customer experience. But it really comes down to these bottom 2 numbers right here, is that 98% of consumers say that shipping impacts their brand loyalty, and 94% of customers blame the retailer if delivery goes poorly. So what Amazon's figured out, what Narvar's figured out, and what we've figured out and that we're making available to everyone is that if something goes wrong, if FedEx screws up, the brand is the one that looks bad. And so it's absolutely in the brand's interest to make sure the customer has an easier way to get that issue resolved than dealing with FedEx directly, or having to go back to them and actually looking at their process for customer support to look at the kind of friction that's required there, to actually get your issue resolved. And so what we created was the ability to just put the onus on the shopper. We realized that over the past several years, even if a customer was calling in and being greeted with a very friendly customer support agent, explaining their situation, talking through it, typically with lost, damaged, and stolen packages, there's levels of escalation that need to happen. We need to make sure the customer's not trying to defraud us. They're not just trying to take advantage of our customer support policies. But we also need to make sure that we're not denying customers who legitimately have a situation that needs to be taken care of. We don't want to turn them away. And so it tends to be a more expensive, more difficult call, and not usually one that can be resolved in a single call. Well, as long as that is something that the brand has to determine, if the brand has to work with FedEx or the carrier to try to determine if the insurance that they paid for is included or covered as they're trying to work it out with the customer is left in the dark, and it sucks for them. But by putting the customer in charge, they're the ones who's the most motivated to get their package replaced or refunded. Why don't we make them totally independently in charge of getting this resolved instead of having to go through the brand or go through the carrier? And so that's the idea. It's literally one click. The customer sees this in the checkout process. They choose if they want to leave it enabled or if they want to turn it off. They proceed through the checkout, and it adds 98 cents to protect any order that's $100 or less in terms of the cart value. Once it goes over $100, we typically just charge about 2% of the cart total. Could be a little bit lower, could be a little bit higher. It just depends on how risky the goods are, if they break a lot, if they're fragile, or if they're very expensive. But yeah, the customer chooses to pay for that. They proceed to checkout. If it's lost, damaged, or stolen, I'm going to skip forward a few slides here. Essentially, what we give them is the ability to self-report what went wrong. So they can say, I got the wrong item, it was lost, damaged, it was stolen, indicate what happened. We have an automated approval process. So this does not go to a team of humans that has to work through the queue and review it. It's literally our software that's analyzing the claims. And within 24 hours, we will either issue them a refund, or in most cases, we will actually just go back through the front end of the store and place a replacement order at full price. So the customer got their issue resolved within 24 hours, which is a few taps on their phone, and the brand got to sell a second piece of inventory and recognize full margin on both. They didn't have to pay for the support call, and they didn't have to pay for the replacement to go out. So I'll pause there before I move on to talking about any of the tracking. I realize there's a bit of an unconventional business model. Please throw out your questions, poke holes in this, call BS, tell me what you think. Happy to talk through it.
Adam, does it work for like any niche? Like, for example, we have a client that's say that they sell gold bullion, so this is expensive stuff, and with they would sell something that's $1,000, for $1,000 it costs them $980, so stuff like losing gold in the mail is very expensive,
Sure.
Yeah, so there are certain like no-nos, or you guys work across the board?
Yeah, we do have some limitations. So if you on our website, we do have like our terms and conditions of things that we can't ship. So if it's something weird, like if they're shipping like livestock, we're not going to work with that. If they're shipping yachts or something like that on freighters or something like that, that's not what we're going to cover. We're really just focused on the typical e-commerce, things that anybody could find and buy without trying too hard. That being said, we basically capped our limit at a $5,000 cart total. So our widget will not be presented to any cart that has more than $5,000 of goods in it. But then, yeah, there's a few restrictions. I think we're going to want to look at like precious metals specifically first before we insure them. But that would just be part of the process of introducing them over to an account executive on our team. We'll be able to look at that, understand their business model a little bit better, and kind of decide how we approach it. But if they're doing just normal, what I would call like 99% of normal business online, I think it's worth making the introduction so we can dive in. But yeah, no livestock, no human trafficking, please. No, anything like that. But as far as like substances go, we have a lot with CBD. We do a lot with alcohol, as long as they're working within the state regulations that they have for where they can ship to and how they can sell. There's as long as it's not like hazardous materials, we really have no problem working with them.
Cool. And remind me of last question. You guys are Shopify only or any e-commerce platform? I forget.
Pretty much any e-commerce platform. So we have apps with Shopify, Magento, WooCommerce, and BigCommerce. So whatever their respective app store or plugin store is, you'll find us there. I can also provide you with a link where we have all of those shortcuts on our homepage. But then we do have an open API for everybody else. The API is pretty lightweight compared to others. Even folks outside of Route have told me that it's 2 hours or less of work if you're doing it through the API.
Cool.
Cool. I'm going to assume that no news is good news. If nobody else has any other questions, we'll move on. If you do, feel free to throw them in the chat, or we will save some time for the end if you do want to wait for the end and throw them in there. So let's hop back to tracking. So a customer is on the store, they proceed through the checkout, they've just added the insurance like we went through, and then they reach an order confirmation page. We also have the ability to create a tracking experience. So this is where we're going to be similar to Narvar, because we realize not everybody is going to have something go wrong with their order, and not everybody is going to want to pay to protect their order. We actually see about 50% of orders attach our insurance to it, and that's across 8,000 stores that we've partnered with so far. So the insurance is very popular, but yeah, half the people aren't going to pay for it. I'm sure there's some folks on this call that would say, I would never pay for that, and that's fine. However, we want to make sure that we're providing value to everybody, not just the ones that choose to pay for the insurance. And so that's why we've created the tracking solution. This is not required to buy the insurance. You could proceed through checkout with one of our partnered stores, and you could reach a confirmation page. And even if you didn't add the insurance, they could still encourage you to track your order with Route. You can do that by integrating with the confirmation page. We can also do it by integrating with a confirmation email. So we could actually just send the email as a result of the transaction, encouraging shoppers to download the Route app. But what that gives them is not just a prettier tracking experience. We don't want to just make it look better. We actually want to make it more useful to the customers. And so by signing into the Route app, you enable push notifications so that we can actually not just show you where your stuff is when you open the app and go look for it, but we can tell you every time it reaches an update. So here's an example of all the different push notifications you can get. As soon as you place an order, you're going to be notified that you have a new order, and Route's going to confirm that we've picked it up. We'll tell you when it's in transit, when it's out for delivery, when it's been delivered, or even if a delivery attempt has been failed and it wasn't left, so that customers don't even have to worry about saving those confirmation emails with tracking numbers. We don't have to worry about going back to the brand and saying, hey, where's my stuff? When's it going to get here? Now, I know what you're thinking. Customers already get a tracking number as a result of every e-commerce transaction online, right? So why do they need a different tracking experience? This is just one more thing to think about. But I'm sure you guys know this as well as anybody else. You can have 50% of your support queries in an e-commerce brand that are all just asking, where's my order? Right? They should know that from the tracking number that they were sent, but they don't. And it continues to be the single biggest category of support questions for an e-commerce brand. So what we realize is that email is the bottleneck. We are ordering so much stuff online as a society. We have so many packages. We've got subscriptions. We've got things that we just bought. We've got things that we forgot we bought 2 days ago, and trying to keep track of all those notifications in a very crowded inbox where we're getting even more communications from brands that we've previously shopped with, even if we didn't shop with them recently, it becomes very easy to misplace those orders and those tracking numbers. And with as many different carriers as there are, all of those orders are going to have a different carrier or the same carrier, and it's difficult to keep track of it. That's what's leading to customers having to go back to the brand and rely on the brand to ask them, where's my stuff? So if brands will actually integrate with us and encourage their users to download the Route app, we will tell them where their stuff is before they even have to worry about asking the brand. And if the industry average is $5 a support call, every one of those calls that doesn't have to go into that brand is saving them $5. And so that's why it's so important that brands promote our app and not just our insurance. It doesn't just have to be the app. You can see here, we can do a landing page. If customers don't want to download our app, if they don't want that on their phone, that's fine. If they click on that prompt from the email or from the confirmation that says track your order with Route, we can totally just pop it right out into the browser. So they've got this fully branded experience. They can put promotional content in there. They can show you where that order is. so that you can still have that experience. Of course, we're still going to leave the links up there for them to download it on their phone and have that experience themselves, but we're also not going to limit it. And that's one of the things I love about Route is we're not saying you can only insure your orders if you track it. We're not saying you can only track your orders if you pay for the insurance. We're not only saying that you can make a claim if you download our app. None of it is gated behind any other part of our business. You can use any piece of this independently. We're just focused on making a great customer experience. We know the more we do that, the more customers are going to want to have this experience everywhere they shop. So I want to pause on tracking. Questions about tracking?
I'll ask you one. Is there anyone you don't like I guess you partner, FedEx, UPS, USPS, there's like, the usuals, right?
Right.
I don't know, is there ones that are like pretty standard that for one reason or another, you can't do this with, like DHL just doesn't give you the API or something, or pretty much across the board you're able to do this?
Yeah, so we are integrated with 600 carriers worldwide. So pretty much as long as they are generating a legit tracking number, we'll be able to pick it up and track it. We've got different levels with them. We're actually working on getting more direct integrations with those major 6 carriers in the US so that we can push those notifications even faster, instead of having some of the delays when we're fetching that information for updates. But even right now, we've done some tests where we've tracked something from a brand that uses Narvar as well as on Route, and the push notification came through the phone 2 hours before the Narvar email came through saying the order was delivered. So we do keep things pretty tight, but they're getting better. The other part of this is truly universal. With the insurance, we have to integrate with each store that wants to offer insurance. We can't insure orders on stores that have not integrated into their checkout. However, with the tracking, the way this works is when you download the Route app, and I'm actually just going to hop back to a different slide here. When you download the Route app, part of the setup to get here is you connect it with your email. So we pick up those tracking numbers as they are emailed to you, which means we don't have to go integrate with every possible store out there in order to track stuff. We'll just pick it up as it's sent to your email. And so very similar to the way that like when you're sent a 2-factor authentication code on your iPhone, you don't even have to go to your text messages anymore. It just copies and pastes it into your keyboard for you and says, do you want to use this code to authenticate? We do the same thing. We just grab those tracking numbers. We've taught our identifier how to find tracking numbers in those emails and pull them out, and we will throw them all here. So you can track your Amazon orders on here. You can track your, boutique ABC that just opened yesterday and you're their first order. It doesn't matter. You can truly track your entire experience on here, which is so important because we didn't want to create something that only works with brands that chose to partner with us, like Narvar. We want to make sure that you might not even shop with a store that insures their orders with Route, but you can go download the Route app, and wherever you shop, you can track all of your orders right here. Hopefully that clarifies things. But yes, regardless of the carrier, regardless of the merchant, you can track it all in the Route app. We're going to run into a few things, like if it's from like Wish.com or Alibaba, sometimes those companies literally just send a bogus tracking number that's not even real. That's not going to work, right? Bad data in, bad data out. But for the most part, yeah, if it's a legitimate carrier, we'll be able to show it just fine. Now, the other part of that is that as the world is tracking all their packages and stuff here, we realize this is a valuable place for the brands to be able to integrate and engage with their brands. And so within the app, brands can create brand profiles so that as I'm tracking my order from Code Epoxy, I'm excited to get my outdoor gear for a camping trip coming up, in a few weeks. They can put in their links to contact them, to go back to their website. And we are already driving 26% of our users back to the website to continue shopping, to share products that they've bought. The Route app creates a universal order history so that you can see all the orders that you've made in the past, making it really easy to go back and repurchase, reorder, or show your friends and family what you've been buying and what you like. So for example, I can show you guys here just on my webcam. I've got my whole order history of my Amazon orders, my Dodgers World Series stuff that it's got from MLB Shop. Doesn't matter where it is. You can have that whole history there. So as we continue to build that, it becomes a really cool place for brands to engage with their users and elevate that experience so that, again, they're not just seeing FedEx's logo, they're seeing your brand's logo and engaging that way. So Implementation. Again, if you have questions about our model, how we work, anything like that, hit me. Implementation is super easy. Like I said, we're on WooCommerce, Shopify, BigCommerce, and Magento with out-of-the-box apps. With any of those guys, the process is literally just to go download the app, create an account through the setup questions that we have as part of that app download. You can turn on the tracking as part of that. You can turn on the protection as part of that setup. Brands can choose if they want to promote the tracking or just the insurance, or if they want to do both. And then the only extra step is with Shopify. There's just one line of code that needs to be copied and pasted into the checkout of the live theme. Our team can do that. We just need them to grant collaborator access. I'm sure your team is very capable of doing that. Either way, we've got a team that'll do it for free. You just need to indicate if you want expert install from our team. It's typically about a 48-hour, 2 business day turnaround for us to get into the queue and do it, or you guys can do it yourself, but that's it. And then it's up and running. So I want to kind of bring this back full circle. I started talking about why we exist and why this matters. My biggest caution would be if you are getting into conversations with merchants and you're opening up that conversation by saying, hey, what are you doing for shipping insurance? Or if you start that conversation by saying, hey, how are your customers tracking their packages? You've set yourself up for a very short, unproductive conversation, right? Nobody wants to talk about shipping insurance. And if you just ask them about tracking, they're just going to say, yeah, we already email out a tracking number. ShipStation does that, or whatever software they're using. But as you've just seen from our conversation, we're not just talking about providing a tracking number, and we're not just talking about providing insurance. It's about customer experience. So I want to share with you kind of 3 different ways that you can talk about this that paint kind of that broader picture. I will be sharing this deck with Mike afterwards so that you can distribute this among everybody. So don't feel like you need to scribble notes on these, but you're welcome to. So here you go. The purchasing experience is your best chance to show your true colors as a brand, from offering your best promos to the ease of the checkout process. The biggest factor in whether they come and shop with you again is the delivery experience. I'm not kidding. 84% of shoppers won't return to a brand after a bad delivery experience. Make sure your shoppers return again and again with an intentional post-purchase experience. Talk with our folks at Route to make sure your customers are getting their tracking updates every step of the way, and they're enabled to self-report and resolve any delivery issues that arise after you send their order off. So you see how that kind of ties it all together? Here's another example. Customers are acclimated to the way that Amazon takes care of them. They know if anything goes wrong with their delivery, they don't even have to talk to a human being at Amazon. With a few taps on their device, they can get it replaced or refunded. And if you can't offer the same experience, your customers are going to keep buying products similar to yours on Amazon instead of your superior product. Don't be a victim of a carrier messing up your brand experience. And then the exact same copy. Talk with your friends at Route. Let's make sure that they're enabled to have that same experience. And then a third example. If 2020 has shown us anything, it's that e-commerce has boomed and the world's carriers weren't ready for it. Even since the spike began in March last year, customers are still struggling to keep up with, or carriers are still struggling to keep up with demand. They've suspended their guarantees and more orders are lost, damaged, and stolen, and we're not even in holiday season. With all the demands put on you and your team during the holidays, leave shipping issues out of it. So obviously this is more of like a holiday spin. I'm just talking about the uncertainty of carriers, high volume. There's a lot of ways that you can talk about this, but my biggest hope would be this should be a no-brainer for any of the merchants you're working with that are shipping a physical product. We are 100% free to the merchant. The merchant does not have to pay anything to use Route, not our tracking, not our insurance. It is all just an option for the end shopper to choose if they want to tack on 98 cents to an order below $100 or 2% for an order over $100. That's it. So they can implement this for free. They can offload those calls and those support issues, and we will buy replacements from them anytime we need to give replacements or refunds. So we make it super easy that way. That's all I got. I'm happy to kind of dive in and talk through some other examples here before we talk about my fun little giveaway for all of you guys joining here. Questions?
Adam, I don't know if mine's a question or more just reinforcing, reiterating what you just said. So for the merchant, it is no cost. So whether they do a lot of orders or they're brand new, we just build them a Shopify site. We have no idea if they're going to have one order. It doesn't cost them a penny. It never really costs them a penny. It's the consumer, I guess, the checkout page, press a little checkbox. Hey, I want this, order insurance. It's 99 cents. And I guess the merchant gets that 99 cents and then pays you. But again, really, they're just like passing it through at that time. So the merchant never has to pay. So just an extra, benefit with no cost in a way. And also see that part, if the consumer doesn't pay, you still get that tracking, right? So you kind of get that benefit for free. And if they, if they get insurance, then they get insurance. If they don't, they don't.
Correct. Yep.
Cool.
Good summary. So we would love for all of you guys to experience this for yourselves. We would love that experience to be so good. And that as you track all your stuff, what's up, Brian shared his experience in the chat. We hope you guys use the app. We hope you like it. And that should just make it that much easier for you to be able to bring it up with merchants, to share what's cool, what's working, and encourage them to offer that same experience to their customers. So we're going to make it easy for you. If you will go download the Route app to your phone, and if you've already downloaded it, that's just fine. Send me a screenshot of the profile page to show me that it's yours and you didn't just Google it or get it from a coworker. Screenshot that profile page to show me that you've connected it. Email it to adam@route.com, and I will reply to you with a gift card code to brewmate.com for $25. I don't know if you're familiar with Brewmate. They make like insulated steel koozies for any size beverage. They do bottles, they do cans, they do like the slim White Claw cans. They've got wine tumblers, they've got everything. So with warm weather coming, hopefully you have more chances to enjoy some cold beverages, but we will give you that gift card. They are partnered with Route, so you can have that. Please leave the Route insurance on there so you can have the full experience. Leave it on there. And then that will be your first order that you can track with the Route app. So we'll pay for that first item for you. Track it, enjoy the experience, enjoy your Brewmate, and then leave it on your phone. Keep tracking all of your other packages there, and we'd love to get your sincere, legitimate recommendation to any of the merchants that you guys are working with. Questions on that?
I have a general question.
Yeah.
Cool. So is it possible that like customers already have this and they could track your package like already without the brand being a part of it?
Correct.
And,
yes.
Okay, cool. And then this kind of just like adds your brand to it plus all of these extra benefits.
Yeah, so you can think of it from two ways. When we're working with agencies like yours, we're very focused on what are new brands that we can work with. What are brands that we can get to partner with us to encourage their users to download the Route app, and brands that we can work with to offer their insurance. On the other side of things, you could just be a consumer. You could have a cousin or a friend or a brother-in-law who found our app and is downloading it, and they have no idea that we integrate with stores or anything like that. They're just enjoying that their entire e-commerce experience is summed up in this app, and they can see where all of their orders are. It is not dependent, at least to track orders, it is not dependent on whether or not the stores choose to integrate with us.
Cool, thanks.
So I think we've tracked orders from, I think it's something like, I don't know, it's something like 500,000 stores or something like that, like unique orders. It's a crazy number, but we're integrated with like 8,000 stores, right? So we've definitely tracked far more orders from stores that we don't work with than from stores we do work with.
Gotcha.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Maybe it's not so, it's definitely might vary between merchant and merchant, but I just wanted to see from like your end, what is the like percentage that Route does cover in the sense like customers like trying to have issues or anything? Is it like a 1-to-1, 1-to-50, 1-to-100? I just want to know that.
Yeah. So, with most insurance, there's a lot of fine print and they're trying to get out of it and not pay out claims. We're the opposite. We want to be the anti-insurance company. So we actually pay out 93% of claims that come in.
Okay.
And so we very much are in favor of providing a great experience, both to the merchants who are trusting us to take care of their customers, as well as to those customers who paid an extra buck on their order and expect them to be taken care of. So as they go through that process, our algorithm is absolutely favoring honoring claims. Even in the event that our algorithm says don't honor this claim, that is then kicked over to a team of humans where we look for those false negatives and we look for ones that we should overturn and say, okay, the algorithm denied this one, but we're going to overturn it
Cool.
and go ahead and honor it.
All
So yeah, 93% is the number.
Cool. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
Adam, one more question for me. I forget if you explicitly mentioned it today, but you definitely mentioned before that you put, or say your insurance covers it, that 93%. At like, how many times does it result in you just like repurchasing that same product from that same e-commerce store, the merchant, versus giving the money back? And is it like the consumer has that option, or you default to repurchasing that item from the merchant? How does that work?
We typically default to repurchasing, but the customer chooses that in part of their self-reporting. This item was stolen, and then we ask them, what do you want to happen? Do you want a refund, or would you like us to repurchase it? Most of the time, they're going to indicate they want to repurchase. If for some reason it's not available, if it was like a custom item, or it's sold out, or it was part of a drop and there's no more inventory available, we will then just default to refunding them, even if their preference was to get a repurchase, because obviously it's not available. But the customer chooses that. With BigCommerce and with Shopify, our integration actually does that automatically. So when they indicate that they want to repurchase, we have snapshotted the SKUs, the discount codes, all the information that was present in their original email, so that our system can literally just go reach in through an API call or through our integration to go replace that order in Shopify and send it out. So again, this is also something that does not build up with a backlog of our team needing to go make duplicate orders. So it literally just duplicates and goes and buys that exact same SKU and ships it out to the same delivery information they originally provided.
And how many percent of orders do get lost or damaged and this actually qualifies for? Because I get that out of the claims you said 93%, right? But is it like one out of right? How often does FedEx actually lose your package?
Yeah, it's anywhere from well, I don't know about the carriers, but at least for the brands, it's typically 1 to 3% of orders. Wow. So it's not a it's a number, but it's not a huge number. I mean, we're not curing cancer here, but at the same time, that's why it's free. We didn't create a solution that we're going to charge the merchants for to go fix 1 to 3% of their orders, but it does happen, and so we created a model where we can solve that problem without having to create this cost analysis situation for a brand to say, okay, how much am I actually paying to replace packages? And then how much would I pay to solve that problem instead of paying for them? We created them a free solution that the end customer is willing to pay for. And like I said, we're seeing 50% of orders attached. So if there's any executive that looks at this and says, oh, my customers are never going to pay for that, they already complain about my shipping rates. Well, guess what? 50% of them will, and 50% of them do, because we see it all the time on other sites. Other questions? Cool. Well, I think we can put 20 minutes back in your day. Yeah, go ahead and take the time. Download the app, connect it to your email, send me the screenshot that you did it. I'm happy to send you those Brewmate gift cards. Just do that individually so I can just send each email one at a time with a different code, and you don't end up accidentally mixing those up or anything. But if you have any questions, please let me know. Yep. Thank you, Mike. There it is, adam@route.com. And you're welcome to just shoot me questions there. But otherwise, Mike, I will send you over this presentation from today, as well as just a one-pager that everybody can use. The one-pager is much more condensed, obviously, much more summarized, but should be a really good resource to just open up the conversation with anyone that you're talking to get them interested enough to have a deeper talk with us.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Adam. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much for taking the time, and also those gift cards that I will definitely take advantage of. I'll touch base later.
Cool. I saw there was a hand raised. Was that Monica or Irina?
Yeah, but I didn't want to interrupt, and I was kind of late. I apologize for that.
Okay.
One question. One of my clients, for example, does a lot of returns, right? Or most of their clients want returns, and they want to change their policy and say that they don't do any kind of refunds for stuff, right? You can only just replace the item, but you cannot do a refund. how would that work with this? Like, would they be able to, for example, choose that option that the users cannot do refunds, they can only do replacements?
Yeah, so without speaking with the brand, I would imagine our situation is a little bit different. So if a customer orders something and they don't like it and they want a refund, the brand still incurred a cost. They had to pay the cost of shipping it out, the cost of getting it returned and issuing a full refund. So the brand was down some amount of money to fully refund that customer, right? So it absolutely makes sense to say, we're not going to do a refund. You can just buy something else. In our case, we're not dealing with the merchant's money anymore. We're issuing a refund from our bank account, right? So if a customer adds route to their order, it doesn't arrive, it's not the brand that would issue that refund. We're going to issue that refund out of our revenue. And so this would be something that would allow that brand to offer refunds without losing any money. Does that make sense?
Thank you so much. Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
Yep. Cool. Well, if you have other questions, shoot them to me, adam@route.com. Otherwise, I will be prepared to send you guys back BrewMate gift cards. Give me some time on that. There were like 15 or 20 of you on this call. So if all of those pile in at once, it may be, Monday or Tuesday before I get back to you with all those. So be patient. I haven't forgotten you. But I won't clear your email out of my inbox until I reply with a gift card code. So
Awesome.
Thanks again. Bye.
cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Enjoy.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, great weekend.
Thank you.